What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video. And in this video, we are doing episode 2 of Shooting the Breeze. Now, Shooting the Breeze is just in my other videos that y'all watch. Hopefully you watch them. I have my notes prepared. I'm very prepared for those videos. I just talk about the stuff that I have my notes written down on. With this, I got a couple of topics, and I just talk about the stuff off the top of my head. And it's just like, I can talk about anything and everything. Now, in this episode, in addition specifically, I'm going to be talking about the NBA because I've been slacking on my NBA videos. Now, the NBA, hasn't been that many topics that I'm like been willing to make a full video on, and it's WrestleMania season, so a lot of my videos recently have been wrestling WWE related because, like I said, it's WrestleMania season. It's the biggest time in WWE and in wrestling all year, so I've been more focused and worried on making those videos. And obviously, this week coming up, got a couple more WrestleMania-related videos to make, including my ROH Super Card of Honor predictions video. Hopefully, I still don't know if there's going to be an ROH TV review this week, because I don't know if there's going to be an episode of ROH TV, but I'll definitely be doing Super Card of Honor predictions, and then obviously at some point, I'll do WrestleMania predictions. So, we just got to wait and see when that. It's not a matter if, it's just when. So, and then after that, that's when the NBA playoffs and play-in and awards. Like, I got a lot of NBA-related videos to come out after WrestleMania. I still got to do my things I want to see in the offseason, volume 2, 3, 4. I don't know how many volumes I'll do. I said I was going to go until the actual offseason happens, but volume 2 will come out very soon. I plan on doing at least one a month until the offseason happens. So, that being said, let's get and talk into about this episode of Shooting the Breeze. And the first topic, the MVP award chase/case. Now, the last episode of Shooting the Breeze, I was like, I'll make a whole video talking about the MVP case. This is kind of the hot topic. And I don't know why I gave myself a sophisticated voice, but I never ended up making that video. Why? I just kind of like, a lot of people have been talking about it, and I just didn't really want to talk about it, and I didn't think I was going to provide anything different. So I'm going to quickly go over the MVP case. Now, the main highlights. Now, I kind of regret not having this channel at the beginning of the year, because I had a lot of hot takes, or not even hot takes, predictions that have gone well. Now, obviously, you don't go 10 out of 10 on your predictions, so some of them have flopped. Now, I'm not going to bury myself. Don't really know of a prediction that I had that was like bad. But the main one that, as of right now, is on track to being right is I had Joel Embiid being the MVP. Now, my main case for him being MVP was the 76ers had a great offseason. They got PJ Tucker. They brought back James Harden. They got DeAnthony Melton. Daniel House and Montrezl Harrell, mainly Montrezl Harrell, I thought were going to have a major impact on this team, but not as much as DeAnthony Melton and PJ Tucker. So I thought the 76ers had a great team going into the season, and Nikola Jokic would be three-peating. And very rarely do we see a person three-peat the MVP award. The last person was Larry Bird. Now, the other person I thought of was Jason Tatum, which for the first month of the season was looking very well. But the main reason I didn't see Tatum winning MVP was the Celtics were really stacked and had a stacked team. So it'd be very hard to give Jason Tatum, who was on a stacked team, the award, but it is what it is. He's going to win an MVP one day. That being said, right now, Joel Embiid is on the road to winning his first MVP, and you could definitely debate that he should have won the last two. And it's been a very weird thing, because it's mainly been with Sixers fans. They're so salty and have thought they should have had this MVP award. Now, it's very weird, because some of these awards get treated like championship titles. And especially when you're going through the 82-game season and you're seeing this trail of somebody earning an award, some of these awards definitely should be treated. Do you treat them like championships? Maybe. You get t-shirts made and you get an acknowledgement you get a trophy for it, so maybe. But the MVP award definitely would be the award that you talk about with this. And I've kind of thought, this is my thought process. I'm not getting into advanced stats. This is all stuff off the top of my head. I thought the last 2 years, if you're looking back, 2020/21, the main argument for Embiid was they were the number 1 seed in the East, and nobody expected the Sixers to have that big of a jump, because the year prior, they were terrible. And the argument for Jokic, I feel, was that they were the 4 seed. I believe they were 4. It might have been the 3 seed. Who was the 3 seed? There's a lot of dead silence. Anyways, the main thing is Jamal Murray got injured with like a month left, and Jokic kept him afloat and kept putting up his crazy stats. And so with Jamal Murray going out and keeping the team at the float or at even the same, Jokic got the MVP. Now, I'm going to go and talk about the future and the current day. But looking at it now, Embiid probably should have won that MVP. Is it the end of the world that he didn't? Not really. Looking at the next year, the main argument for Embiid was that he was doing all these crazy stats and keeping the team afloat without Ben Simmons. But guess what? Jokic was doing the same thing that he did the year prior, putting up the crazy stats, keeping his team in the playoff hunt or afloat without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. So if you're going to say Embiid's keeping his team in the playoff hunt and afloat without his number 2, well, Jokic is doing that without his number 2 and 3. And then obviously the Embiid MVP hype kind of died down once James Harden got added to the team. Now, obviously Harden wasn't the MVP level guy that we have been seeing, but it's just like he's way better than Ben Simmons, and Embiid got his help. So I felt the Embiid MVP hype kind of died at that point. And like I said, Jokic last year, it's only weird that he won MVP because he was the 6th seed. And he didn't do anything that historic compared to Russell Westbrook, which I would offend his MVP with my life because he was the 6th seed when he won MVP. But it's just like, Jokic, if you're going to argue for Embiid that he kept his team in the playoffs without his number 2, Jokic did the same thing without his number 2 and his number 3. So if we're looking at just Jokic and Embiid, I would have Jokic winning last year. Now this year is the weird year, and this is the main my main opinion on it. If Embiid wins, I'm not going to be mad because I predicted him to win, and I like seeing Embiid. He's getting his flowers finally because it'd be long overdue. But my main problem, it's not even really a problem. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, just even be mad about it. It's just what did Embiid do right this year that he didn't do the past 2 years? Now, obviously, he's had a lot more crazier stat games. He had the 60-point game. I believe he had 7 blocks in that game. That was a crazy game. But Jokic also has had some crazy stat games. And he's the number 1 seed, which was a good argument for Embiid 2 years ago. So the main question is not even really a problem. The question I would have is, what would Embiid do that has done this year to get MVP that he didn't do the past 2 years? And what did Jokic do wrong this year to not get it that he hasn't done the past 2 years? Now, obviously, I think a lot of recency bias goes into this because once Embiid kind of overtook the number 1 spot in the MVP race is when the Nuggets were on a losing streak and were very bad defensively. And when you're who contributed to the bad defense, everybody points at Jokic. So it's a lot of recency bias I get in this award, which with an award that's supposed to be 82 games, and in this case, not 5 games. Definitely not the biggest fan of that. But like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be mad at it because I thought Embiid going into the year was going to win MVP. And then, obviously, he would. But it's just like I said, I'd be asking the question, what did he do right? What did Jokic do wrong? And at the end of the day, it's not the biggest problem. What is a problem, though, is the Clippers. Now, I'm filming this Saturday night, Sunday morning, and they just lost to the Pelicans. Kawhi Leonard suffered a facial contusion, which I did. I typed in Los Angeles Clippers because I was trying to see how long Paul George was going to be out, and then that's when I saw that Kawhi was hurt. Like I said, I wasn't watching the game. I was asleep. And I don't know how long Kawhi is going to be out, even if he's going to be out, but that would really suck for the Clippers. Now, a lot of my videos, I don't talk about game analysis. A lot of my videos I kind of realize NBA related is I talk about trades and transactions and a lot of fantasy trades and transactions. I'm just like ACM TTLOV. It's just with the Clippers, there's kind of been this discussion on if they should move on from Kawhi and Paul George. Now, I'm not going to spend that much time talking about that, but it's just when you've looked at the past couple of years, they had the 2020 season. They should have just went to the conference finals. I know it's kind of hard. I know there's that whole joke what would you do? I would just win. it's just kind of hard to say they should have just won that. But he's like, y'all are up 3-1 on the Nuggets in the bubble. Y'all should have just finished the job, and y'all's life would have been a lot easier because you would have had a conference finals under your belt. Now, obviously, it's not in front of fans. You would have had to listen to people talk about being Mickey and all that crap. At the end of the day, that stuff doesn't really matter. This is besides the point. You lost the series. Then the year after, Kawhi Leonard got hurt. Then the year after, Kawhi Leonard missed all the year, and Paul George missed a good majority of the year. Now we're getting this year, and it's a mixture of all three of these seasons where we expect you to be title contenders, but you can't really be title contenders because you don't have the true point guard. You got Russell Westbrook. He's doing well with the team. Shout out Brody. But you got a lot of injuries going on now. It's just that we don't know how seriously to take you. And at some point, are the Clippers going to get fed up with all this disappointment and be ready to move on? Personally, I don't think so. They have this new arena, and if you're having a new arena, you're going to need superstars. And Kawhi and Paul George, who are two guys from California and love being in California, that's the main reason they wanted to be on the Clippers. I don't think they're going to be ready to move on. And as long as you got Kawhi and Paul George on the team, you kind of somewhat think they should be a good enough team to win. But who knows? I personally, like I said, I've seen this discussion on, oh, the Clippers should move on for Paul George and Kawhi. I don't see it happening. So I'm not going to spend that much time with it. But it definitely sucks. This is the fourth year in a row where we've had to deal with the same stuff from the same team. So I just wanted to get my Clippers 2 cents out there. Next, the main topic of the video. The third topic in the video, the hat of the video, the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the main question, I'm pretty sure what the title of the video is going to be is, do the Dallas Mavericks regret trading for Kyrie Irving? Now, I'm going to have a long response to this, and I will give a definitive answer or my opinion on it, but I got to go through a lot of topics first. So, I don't know who the next disgruntled star coulda, woulda been that the Mavericks coulda went after. I personally think, and this kind of spoils my answer, but I think the Mavericks probably should have waited it out and just rode this year with Luka having this Harden-esque, Westbrook-esque, and even, I guess you could say, Jokic-esque year where you're putting up these crazy numbers, and you could have even won MVP, because like I said, you're putting up these crazy numbers, and you're doing this by yourself. Now, obviously, you had Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Green. You got good players on your team. You just don't have a superstar. Not everybody can wear a cape, a Superman cape, a superhero cape. You can put them on, but it's just like you don't have the same effect as Superman. Now, Kyrie, I guess a better comparison would be Batman and Robin because it's like an A and a B where Superman doesn't have that B. Batman does have that B with Robin. But you get the point. That's what the team wanted. And that's what we think Luka wanted. He wanted help. He wanted a superstar. Again, like I said, personally, just ride out this year. Because this team now is not ready to win a title. This team in the offseason probably is not ready to win a title if you're bringing Kyrie back and you're not making any other major moves. And the team before it was, you're just in the same position. You just now are a lot more frustrated because you did something that you thought was going to change the team and make the team better, and you've gotten a little bit worse. So, I think, like I said, spoiler alert, I think they do regret the trade because they're going to have to, it's not even a guarantee they're going to bring Kyrie back. He is in a rental for like 20, 25-ish games because he hasn't even played every game for the Mavericks. To be fair, Luka hasn't played every game during that time period as well. But it's just, Kyrie is just a big question mark. The reason I say that is because we know he's an all-time great basketball player. It's just like, there's always extra stuff with him. Now, since he's been with the Mavericks, obviously it hasn't been that long of a time period, but it's just like, it's always a question mark. The question mark now, or with other teams, it's just like, does he want to be here? Is he even going to show up? Where now is he going to re-sign? I guess that's an easier question to answer than the other ones because we never really know. It's just, I will admit, it's going to be hard for him to leave. Because we know we think at least he wants the money. The Mavericks are willing to offer him the money. We don't know how many other teams are willing to offer him the money because not a lot of teams have cap space. Now, obviously, that can just change. They can make some trades, make that happen. I don't really know if they're going to be willing to do that for Kyrie Irving, who, like, again, is just a big question mark because we don't really never, ever know what to expect with Kyrie Irving. So, personally, I think they should have waited it out. have this year with Luka going crazy. He would be frustrated, but guess what? He's frustrated now with the trade that you made. Now, is it all on Kyrie? Definitely not. It's a team problem, obviously. They just lost to the Hornets. They play the Hornets again tonight. They lose again to the Hornets tonight. This topic, this video might be out of the window because it could be 10 times worse than what it already is now. We lost to the Warriors on some bull crap. You could pick a side to be on with that. It's just like, I don't think nothing's going to change out of that. So I'm not even really that worried about it. It's just, I think the Mavericks should have waited it out and then tried in the offseason to do something. Because right now, you're in a worse position with where you tried to make something better. My whole consensus and thought process when this trade took place was it's going to be hard to guard Kyrie and Luka at the same time. Now, again, it's all the stuff off the top of my head. I think Kyrie and Luka are 3-7 together. That is actually very bad. Very, very bad. And compared to the Suns, where Kevin Durant's supposed to be there long-term. Kyrie also is supposed to be there long-term. We don't know. But Kevin Durant's obviously under contract. And he's 3-0 with the Suns. Now, obviously, that's not that many. That's not a big sample size. And Kevin Durant's supposed to come back. But you get the point. It's just... The consistency with the Suns now is it's going to be hard to guard Kevin Durant and Devin Booker at the same time. Where you also look at that with the Mavericks, it's going to be hard to guard Kyrie and Luka at the same time. Also, they don't have much defense. Now, I'm not watching every Maverick game. It is very funny that since the trade deadline, they did play the Grizzlies 3 times, so I watched those games. And in those games, very little defense. You forget Christian Wood's on the team because he comes off the bench. And in the offseason, I gave that trade a high grade because they gave up players they didn't play to get Christian Wood, who I thought would be playing a lot for him, but obviously he doesn't. And then Jaden Hardy, like all 3 of those Grizzlies games, Jaden Hardy balled out. Now, I'm not watching these other games, but I don't think he's playing that much because he's very similar to Luka and Kyrie. You don't need 3 Lukas and Kyrie. Now, obviously, he's not a superstar, top-tier player like those guys, but he's a bucket. Those other 2 guys are buckets as well. And there's just not defense. Their defense is Maxi Kleber, who just came back from injury, and obviously he got a lot of praise because he hit that game winner against the Lakers. But it's just like you can't just have your defense be Maxi Kleber. The main thing I also remember from that Mavericks game is Reggie Bullock would shoot that 3 and miss. So we do know Luka's a playoff player. We do know he is a stud in the playoffs. But right now they're the 11th seed. It's not even guaranteed they make the playoffs. And if they stay at the 11th seed, this offseason could be messy for the Mavericks. So, in the consensus, I think they regret the trade because, A, it's not guaranteed Kyrie comes back. B, the trade didn't make the team better. C, Luka's still frustrated, which is the main thing they were trying to prevent. And you probably could have saved a lot less of a head. Like, obviously, it's still a headache, but it would have been less of a headache in the offseason. And just a lot of question marks and all that crap. And D, I know a lot. Like I said, I like to talk about trades. I like to talk about Fantasy Island and Fantasy Reality. It's just a lot of things that don't obviously happen. I'm not going to talk about a Luka getting traded because I have no clue what that looks like. I know a lot of teams would be interested to have Luka Doncic. I don't think it's going to happen, so I'm not going to spend that much time talking about it. But it's just like when you are at your peak frustration, that's what happens because you don't want to be there anymore and you want a new team. But I don't think we're at that point yet. Obviously, I like to try to jump the gun a lot. I don't think he's going to get traded. And like I said, maybe that's something I'll talk about in another video. What would a Luka Doncic trade look like? But the more of the story, the answer to the question in the video, do the Mavericks regret trading for Kyrie Irving? I'm only going to say yes because the trade, as of right now, hasn't worked out. And it's looking very slim that the trade will work out. Last but not least, the last topic in this video is talking about Jaylen Brown and another trade-related thing. Now, I did write down, so Logan Murdoch, I believe of The Ringer, and I don't have the exact quotes. Do not quote me on any of this crap. But he did an interview with Jaylen Brown, and it kind of took NBA Twitter by storm. I love that a lot of my sources are NBA Twitter, but I did give who gave the interview out. But the consensus was Jaylen Brown isn't committed to the Celtics long term because they're not. We don't know if that. I was going to say they're not committed to him. We don't know if they're committed to him long term. And he's talking about how the KD trade kind of frustrate him because he's always in trade talks, even after just making the finals. Why would you have me in trade talks? I really helped y'all just get to the finals. The fan base is very iffy. There are always good fans in fan bases. There's always bad fans in fan bases. And I feel with the Celtics, the bad outweighs the good. I don't know. I'm not a Celtics fan, but it's just like kind of how it looked. But it's just like, at the time, I don't know when the interview was conducted, but it's like, we're right around the playoffs. I don't think you should be talking about this stuff right before the playoffs. You should be worried about the playoffs. That's just me. But obviously, when you're an NBA player, you got to think about long term. And with Jaylen Brown, he's definitely thinking about long term. Now, again, this is just me thinking as him. I'm not Jaylen Brown. But if you were to think as him, he is a very good player. And he's having a great year. And he's going to make a lot of money with his extension. But are the Celtics going to be willing to give him that money? Because the first time around, when it came to giving an extension 4-ish years ago, they were even questioning it then. So, you definitely have to wonder. And like I said, I said this in my Damian Lillard video. This was a small note that I had in. It's just like, when you look at every team has their guy, the face of the franchise. Now, I've kind of thought it over. Not every team has that face of the franchise. Like the Spurs. You could say it's Keldon Johnson. Is very questionable. What was another team? The Cavaliers. Who's the face of the franchise of the Cavaliers? Because you can argue if it's Garland or if it's Mobley. Who really knows? With the Celtics, you got it's Tatum. But Jaylen Brown is very close. But it's Tatum. I don't think anybody's really arguing that. But Jaylen Brown, like I said, is really close. And you kind of always think, in his mind, does he think he can be that guy for a team? Who really knows? So like I said, I like to talk about these hypothetical trades. And obviously, I could make this a whole different video. But I'm going to spoil you and give you 2 hypothetical trades that I liked. Now, the first one I saw on Twitter. The first one I thought of and has always been rumored for years. And again, I don't know if the money works out, but I'm going to present the scenarios. Now, again, at the end of the day, these trades probably aren't going to happen. Who really knows? But the first trade, the one I saw on Twitter from a couple of people, was Jaylen Brown for DeJounte Murray and John Collins. Now, obviously, I think some extra compensation should be involved. So, when I did this on 2K, a lot of times I like presenting these ideas. Like, when I did the Damian Lillard video, and I did the Damian Lillard for Karl Anthony Towns trade, which if you didn't watch that video and you hear me say that now, you probably think I'm crazy. I gave a big freaking solution and reason why that trade and all that crap. So watch that video because I'm not giving no recap of that. But I did this trade on 2K. Now, I haven't played the full season of it, but when I did the trade, I did Jaylen Brown, who on 2K is 5-star value. You could question that. And Peyton Pritchard, who is a good backup point guard, but with the way that the Celtics go now, he's not really needed, and he wants a new role. And then DeJounte Murray, John Collins. I gave the Kings pick up because, obviously, the Hawks don't have a lot of picks because they gave a lot to give up for DeJounte Murray. I almost said Jamal Murray. For DeJounte Murray. Now, the reason I like this trade for both sides, mainly the Celtics, it's going to be hard to replicate the offense and defense that Jaylen Brown provides. But that's going to be the case with almost every trade and all that. But the good thing about the Celtics, they have a lot of people that are multi-position. Now, y'all know me. I'm a traditionalist. When it comes to positions, I like a point guard, a shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. Now, obviously, there are a lot of people that can play. Like Jason Tatum. He's at small forward now, but he can obviously play at power forward. But I like seeing him at small forward. I am a traditionalist when it comes to position. I know we're in the era of positionless basketball. I don't like that crap. Anyways, with the Celtics, you got DeJounte at point guard. You got Marcus Smart at shooting guard, which hopefully he can become a good shooter. But again, your defense isn't falling off because DeJounte is a great defender. You got Tatum still at small forward. You got John Collins at power forward. Now, I'm a John Collins defender. I thought that the Hawks should have extended him right away, but it worked out better that they waited until a conference finals run to extend him because we could at least see we can win with this guy and get to the conference finals with him. But sadly, the team, I guess to an extent, he has fallen off and not performed up to those standards, and they're in the same position this year than they were last year. The play-in. Where the year prior, they're in the conference finals as the 5th seed. So, obviously, John Collins' main flaw is his defense. But if you're with the Celtics, I think it'd be very hard to be a bad defender when you got 4 other good defenders around you. So that's kind of like the main reason I like this is the Celtics get a proper power forward because now they have Al Horford or Tatum or Grant Williams in there where you can debate between who's better between John Collins and Al Horford, but obviously Al Horford's getting up there in age, and Al Horford's also playing a lot of minutes at center. But you get in the Celtics a proper power forward. You're getting a great defender in DeJounte Murray. And again, Celtics fans are not going to like any of these trades because at the end of the day, they just want to keep Jaylen Brown. Or they want to get a Kevin Durant, which Kevin Durant's not available anymore. He was available, but he ain't available anymore. And for the Hawks, again, you made a big trade in the offseason, and it didn't work out. Now, you're not like the Timberwolves, and you're stuck with Rudy Gobert. Because obviously, you're getting a player that is better than DeJounte Murray, and to an extent, those like picks kind of matter because you're getting Jaylen Brown. Also, a good caveat, might not be a good caveat, a question mark you can add is both those guys are expiring. Now, if you're trading for an expiring contract and you got another expiring contract, you're probably going to be willing to bring the other guy back and pay him his money. So, that is the case. Also, the Hawks want to get rid of John Collins. DeJounte, you can definitely question, but they definitely want to get rid of John Collins. He's been in trade rumors ever since he signed his freaking extension. So, I like it for both sides. Again, I feel Celtics fans don't like it. Hawks fans probably like it. Also, NBA Central, I don't know who the guy and the source was, but I remember NBA Central tweeting out like, the Hawks are a team to monitor for Jaylen Brown. But I feel 70-ish% of the league is probably going to want to get a Jaylen Brown and would have interest in Jaylen Brown. And like I said, that was kind of the main trade that I feel benefited both teams. Now, this other trade, let me go back. I didn't even really talk about it for the Hawks, but like Trae Young, we've kind of been hearing rumors that he might be in trade rumors in the offseason. And it's very Luka-esque. It's just like, I don't know what a Trae Young trade would look like. So that's why I'm not even thinking of one. And I feel that he's the face of the Hawks. And it's just like the DeJounte trade we questioned. And it just, obviously, it hasn't been the end of the world. But it's just like, you're in the same position as you were last year, even after you made this big move. But they also have DeAndre Hunter, who they extended. They have Saddiq Bey, who they traded for. And I love Saddiq Bey, and they can move him to power forward. And then they have Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu. That's kind of always been a question mark. It's like, at some point, you're going to have to make a decision on which one of those guys you want. Because either you're just kind of wasting Onyeka Okongwu's like good years, or you're just keeping Clint Capella, who can do the stuff that you want, but it's just like you're paying him a lot of money. Or are you going to be willing to pay both of them a lot of money? Who really knows? But, like I said, I think the Hawks like that trade because they get rid of John Collins, who's a guy they've been willing to get rid of. Now, the other trade that I was thinking of that I think is definitely questionable, because like I said, I don't know if the money matches off the top of my head, and I'm not willing to put it in the I'll put it in the trade machine, just for fun. Bradley Beal for Jaylen Brown. Now, this trade has been thrown out there for years, mainly because just like to put the Celtics over the hump, but it's just is at the weird point because now the roles are being flipped. Because Bradley Beal, at the point, we perceived as the better player. But now, Jaylen Brown is the better player because he's defense and offense. Where Bradley Beal is mainly offense. He, a little defense, not nearly as much as Jaylen Brown. I don't like saying people are bad defenders, but it's just like, when you're comparing the two, it's Jaylen Brown. But the main reason you'd be willing to do this trade is that we know Tatum loves Bradley Beal. He's close to Bradley Beal. Now, we always are even questioning what is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's relationship. I don't think he hates him. I don't think either one of them hate each other. Y'all are just in the finals together. But it's just like, when you're in this role to be the face of the franchise, that is a battle that is being created by people that aren't in the locker room. Obviously, you question it. Like I said, I'm not in the locker room, but it's just like, sometimes you think of it. So, I don't think this trade is going to go through now because Bradley Beal got extended this offseason. So, I'd have to and there's definitely a big money differential. So, The Celtics would have to throw in another player in this deal. But I think for the Wizards, this is, again, any team. I think the team that's getting Jaylen Brown in most of these trade packages are going to be winning because they're the ones wanting to get Jaylen Brown. They're the ones pursuing Jaylen Brown. But in this situation, I talked about in my NBA Big 3 video, and I love throwing out and talk about my other videos because they all, at the end of the day, all of it links together. But it's just like, the main reason I made that Big 3 video is people are like, yeah, the Big 3 of Porzingis, Bradley Beal, and Kyle Kuzma. That is not a Big 3. And when we talk about the Wizards, it's just like, they don't have a direction. It's just like, you're going to bring back 2 guys, and you're going to, unless you improve at your point guard position and you improve defensively, you're just going to be in the same position every year. And the past 2 years, that's had you out of the playoffs and maybe making the play-in. Where now, if you got Jaylen Brown, who's providing that defense and providing that offense that Bradley Beal's doing, and fits the timeline with your other 2 Big 3 members in Porzingis and Kyle Kuzma, I really like that for them. And right now, Jaylen Brown is slightly cheaper than Bradley Beal. Now, obviously, he's going to get to a higher pay raise, hopefully. I like that for the Wizards. Now, again, for the Celtics, the main plus for that is Bradley Beal and Tatum are close and they're tight, and it's just kind of a flopping of one another. But at the end of the day, like I said, Celtic fans are not going to like either any trade for Jaylen Brown because you're not getting a superstar like a Kevin Durant, and you're probably going to get worse either a little bit offensively, a little bit defensively. I don't think it's the end of the world. Now, again, but to be fair, anybody that's talked about this topic has talked about the trade rumors and whatnot. So, again, I threw my 2 cents out there. And again, like I said, I like to be different. But a lot of the things I talk about, obviously a lot of other people talk about. So it is what it is. But that is the end of this episode of Shooting the Breeze. I covered 4 topics. I talked about the MVP race. I talked about the Clippers' struggles. I talked about, do the Mavericks regret the Kyrie trade? And I talked about the Jaylen Brown trade rumors and all that murmur. To recap that part, because I'll recap the other stuff. I didn't recap that part. I think Jaylen Brown and the Celtics are going to be worried about the playoffs this year. But if it ends badly, it might end badly, and he might want out because we already kind of think of that situation. They already want out. But who really knows? I think the team and him worry about that bridge once they have to cross it in the offseason. So, like I said, that is the end of this episode of Shooting the Breeze. I don't know when the next episode of Shooting the Breeze will be, but this week is WrestleMania week. Unless there's any big NBA-related video news, I probably won't make an NBA-related video this week because most of it will be wrestling-related, whether it's my ROH Supercard of Honor predictions or my WrestleMania predictions. Who knows? Who knows when you'll see me? That's a good thing about this channel. I can just pop up whenever, wherever. So, I will see you when I see you, and hopefully it's in the next video. Take care, and I'll see you when I see you.